So something I've been thinking of recently is mental health, and how currently my mental health is pretty good for the first time in a long while. And I'd like to think that that is because I've been working on it for the last couple of months and sort of staying consistent with things that I know are good for me and trying to avoid things that throw my mental health off, that unsettle me, which is easier said than done. That's kind of the whole name of the game. But I just wanted to kind of address it because I think, especially during the pandemic, people's mental health has suffered a lot, and mental health is like more important than for your overall health and well-being. It's more important than the exercise you do and the food you eat. And I'll fight anyone on that one. That is a big point for me personally, and I know that I'm speaking to a lot of people, but I would love to see the case for someone who can neglect or not address their mindset, their cognition, their mental health, and just solely focus on nutrition and exercise and be their best selves. I would love to hear that argument, because if it was, it would make life so much easier, but I don't think that's the case. So what I do for my mental health is, I'm just going to remind myself and anyone else out there who might be struggling, it might help you, but I keep things kind of like consistent, and it starts simply with my sleep. And I posted a little bit about my sleep, and it's not as good as it could be, but I'm more aware, in the very least, I'm more aware that it's so important to my decision making. And if I can make better decisions across the day, it can put me in a position for success more often. So for example, if I'm trying to maintain my body weight at a certain range, not put on or not lose body weight, then if I can know when to have more or less food because I'm thinking clearly, I have clarity, that is invaluable. Likewise, if I can be mindful because I'm well rested and say, okay, I should hold my tongue here, or I should speak and be direct in the situation, again, that'll be huge for like kind of my sense of confidence and my belief in myself, that I can I can pull back or I can push hard as needs be. Then also, so having a routine with my sleep, then with my exercise. So I aim for a certain amount of steps a day. I have a certain number of resistance workouts I aim for a week, and I try to do some cardiovascular work there as well. So nothing kind of groundbreaking, but basically I have a flexible approach where it's like, it's not a sort of you have to do this or you have to do that. I have a baseline for steps that I try and get. Sometimes I miss it, sometimes I go way over, but I look at the average across the week. And then for my exercise, it's the same. And with the exercise, the biggest thing is, and I was just talking about this on the most recent podcast, is I don't exercise for fat loss. It's probably the worst way to start going about fat loss. I exercise for my mental health. I exercise for my own confidence. I exercise to perform well. So, to lift heavy, to run well, all these kind of things. It feels good. And then also because it's just very natural to me when I don't move. When I get depressed or anxious, I stop moving and I sort of pull back from my regular routine of life. And then that's where things start going haywire. So movement is extremely natural for me and a lot of people. And if your mental health isn't where it could be, look at the simplest form of movement you can start with to improve your mental health. So it's kind of like indirectly you're addressing your mental health with something else that's very natural to you, which is exercise. So that's something to consider. Then also my relationships. I think over the last 18 months, or just over the course of the pandemic, I have strengthened my relationships exponentially with my family, with my partner, with my friends, with my co-workers. It's not something I kind of consciously set out to do, but the more I realized how important relationships are, the more that I saw the benefit in having a support network, the more I started to foster these relationships. And I would say the same for anyone. And the nice thing is you don't have to have a lot of relationships. You can have a few really close ones, and stay on top of them. And it works, but it's a bi-directional kind of relationship where you will support your closest people and they will support you. So sometimes you're going to be high and you're going to support them. Sometimes you're going to be low and they're going to support you. but you need other people in your life. Just think of anything you do in your life, and think of how you would do it without any help whatsoever. You would not go very far. As the saying goes, you might go fast, but you won't go far. So think of the relationships as well for your mental health. Think of how you can improve the most common relationships, and start there. Start very small. Could be something like an act of kindness. It could be like, I'm going to buy someone a coffee. I'm going to give them a call, give them a text, and just start slowly, week by week, that way. And then also journaling and therapy are other facets to my mental health that have really improved, maintained, and kept my mental health on an even keel. And that's not to say that I don't get anxious or depressed. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling very down, and like over the pandemic, I've been almost like suicidal, but thankfully that wasn't very severe. It was kind of like a very short-lived experience, but it's very scary. And I think it's definitely a red flag or a sign that something needs to change. And I really invest a lot of time, energy, and a little bit of money into therapy. You can find alternative ways to have a therapist thanks to like virtual calls and stuff like that. So I use Betterhelp, and I'd really recommend that to anyone who can avail of it. There's also free services that are out there that I would strongly encourage people to avail of if they're struggling with their mental health. And even if you're not struggling with your mental health, you should still do something for yourself in the form of self-care for your mental health, because there will come a time when somebody's going to die, somebody's going to get sick, somebody's going to lose a job, someone's going to have a run of bad luck, and that really will take even the strongest of people down. And sometimes it all comes at once, and it can be overwhelming. And that's where you need a strong kind of network or resource system to keep you kind of grounded, keep you level-headed, keep you just keeping on moving basically and living your life, because life can be very, very challenging. And lastly, journaling. So I'd love to be a better journaler, but I do what I can, and I try to do it at least once a week. And it's basically free therapy is how I've been hearing it described. And it is the best mental health practice you can do for yourself for the cost as well. So it can be as regular or as irregular as you would like. I would say some sort of consistency on a weekly basis is best. It can be as short or as long as you like. It can be even a voice recording. That's something I'm a big fan of. And nobody has to see it, or for example, my therapist hears my voice recordings and I journal to him, but I don't expect a response, and he doesn't have to always respond. He knows that. So that's the kind of system we have. It can take many different forms. There's affirmations where you can say, I tried hard today, for example, and I tried my best, and that's all I can do. It can be reflective, and you can say, today was an interesting day. I would, continue the amount of activity I did, or I'd do less or do more or something. There's loads of different ways you can approach your own journaling, and that's the thing, you can make it your own. So overall, sleep, activity, relationships, and then some kind of mental health service, so let's call it like journaling or therapy, are the 4 keys to my uptick in mental health, we'll call it. And tomorrow I could wake up and I could be depressed or I could be anxious, so nothing is for certain. Like, the only constant in life is change. But I would say that these 4 things have worked for me. They might work for other people. And if you want to improve your mental health, if you want to be better at maintaining it, or if you are struggling, then try one of these 4 things. Don't try them all. Whichever one appeals to you most, that you think you could make the biggest improvement with the smallest change. And also, if you have any questions at all, DM me. I love to talk about mental health. I think it's extremely important and also undervalued. And I hope people find this useful.